Hello, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Doing Insurance Right. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host. I'm a local farmers insurance agency owner here in Phoenix, Arizona. And today I just wanted to go over generational wealth and ways to build that for you and your family on basically how to keep costs down and build wealth for your kids, and how to make them and pass that down to their kids, and so on and so forth. So, to build wealth throughout the families. The easiest way that I found to do that is actually a life insurance policy that builds lots of cash value during the course of time. So let me just give you a quick example. So life insurance is available typically on anybody at 15 days older and up. So as a kid, though, we can get quite a bit of coverage and quite a bit of cash value going for a low price. So I'll give you an example of one we did the other day. So it was a child that was about a month old. So $250,000 worth of coverage. That's a sizable kid policy. The maximum we can contribute to that policy and build as much cash value as possible for their retirement came in at about $185 a month for a 1 month old boy. At age 65, if the market returns an average of around 5%, which has returned more than that over, let's say, over the last 30 years. We at the time they are 65 years old, a little over $1 million bucks in cash value, plus that $250,000 life insurance death benefit at the end of as well if they happen to pass away during that time. So here is the key to when we look at this type of policy. Okay, so we're not necessarily getting it for the death benefit, but it is there just in case the worst happened. What we're trying to do is build cash value for that child for their at the point of their retirement. So let me give you an example of how that would work. So obviously you would make being the parent, you would make that payment. Now at any time you can pass that payment off and ownership of that policy to your child. So let's take a look at this, for example. So let's say your child goes to high school, then they go to college, they get out of college. Let's say a couple of years after college, they've got a good job, pretty established, heading in the right direction. So that puts them in roughly maybe between ages 24 to 28. At that point, we can pass off that payment to the child where they're making that payment of the $180 a month, basically using it as like a 401k or anything like that, but they are in total control of that policy. You just had to make the payment during that time in order to get them to that point. Now, it doesn't always have to be at 1 month old. We can do this at any time under the age of 18. We can set this same type of policy up. Just payments obviously going to go up. And if 180 is out of the realm, we can look at different options as well, where maybe they don't have over $1 million in cash value at retirement age. Maybe they only have $500,000. But it's also a lot better than, let's say, zero. And we're setting them up for success down the road. Now, while doing that, they could also, if they have children, could do the same for theirs as well, starting the same policy, which means what? Which means generational wealth. So every generation is going to have more and more cash value or more cash at time of retirement. That way, they're solely not dependent upon Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, everything that comes near that retirement age. Not only that, they have a lot of options during that whole time as well. So let's say they needed to borrow some money out of the cash value policy. They can do that. If they were going to, let's say, buy their first house, help put their kids through college, whatever it may be, there's going to be lots of options along the way. Or we can use that solely as an investment account for the rest of their life. Here's the beauty of this type of policy. It's you can base it off either a couple different indexes like the Russell or the S&P is probably the most common. The beauty of the policy is it has a 0% floor, which means there's no particular year that it can lose money at all. So you can gain 0% that year. And it does have a cap on the ceiling as well as 8.5%. But it's an investment policy that has no option of losing money. It can only gain money or be flat. So another fantastic investment option as well. Now we can do the same policy as you, an adult, but what we're trying to do is we want to get this established for kids as well, because the prices are so inexpensive over the years. And then also we can also don't have to make that payment for the rest of our life. The kids can figure that into their budget once they get established job and so on and so forth. So Let's just break this down really quick. So if I'm going to, let's say we'll take $200 as an, or let's just take $100 as the even number. That'd be $1,200 a year. Okay. So at 60, let's say at 60 years old, that's 72,000 we've contributed. We're going to have close to $800,000 in cash at that same point, roughly at that $100 a month. So you're telling me it's an investment product at 5 to 6 times as much over what we've contributed. Not only that, to help fight inflation, which we've all seen this year at an all-time high. Prices of everything are going up, so therefore we know we're going to need more and more money for retirement. And then there's also the chance as well is that Social Security at some point, as it keeps going in the red, that we're going to need that as well, as there might not be Social Security available for, maybe our kids that are just being born at that point. So not only that, we're doing that as retirement. Now, the kids can still use 401ks and IRAs and things of that nature. The beauty of this policy is it builds that cash value, and then also it also has a death benefit in case the worst happened tied to it that starts immediately, rather than, let's say I sunk all my money into an IRA. Let's say if you started investing and you put your money in an IRA and you had $5,000 in there, guess what? There's $5,000 in there. Now, if you had put that $5,000, let's say, into a life policy, there's a death benefit that's going to be tied to that. Let's just take that $250,000 again. So instead, that $5,000 is turned into like $250 immediately. So you're getting the best of both worlds when it comes to investment, and then it also comes to making sure we have life insurance just to help protect the people that we leave behind. So there's lots of ways to build generational wealth, whether it's more traditional ways of investing, but this one like I said, builds that generational wealth with no risk of losing, having a death benefit the entire time. Not only that, there's lots of other things in that policy they can use for like long-term care down the road and things of that nature that we can pull out of that policy a little bit early. We can borrow against it. If the kids needed to, let's say they wanted to buy their first house or they needed money for this, that, or the other, so, to help move their life along, they can also borrow against it at that point or withdraw. So lots of different options and lots of exciting opportunities to build wealth down the funnel for generations and generations to come. So I wanted to thank you for joining me on this episode of Doing Insurance Right. As always, if you could rate, review, or subscribe to whatever fantastic platform you're listening to us on, whether it be Apple, Google, Spotify, or any of the fantastic ones out there, I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.